you're posting content consistently, but you're still getting less views, you get 0 to no followers, and you're also missing the engagement or conversion you actually want from social media. And that is why in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to actually come up with a content strategy that is going to get you views, get you clients, as well as bring you growth in your social media profile. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Gloria, and let's get to it. So the first step is actually defining the goal of your content that you're going to be posting on social media. Now, I know a lot of us are getting started with content creation, so let me give you a crash course on what exactly is expected when you start creating content online. When you're creating content online, your content is supposed to hit at least one of these three goals. The first goal is discoverability, which usually translates either via views, via reach, as well as via profile visits. And then the second thing, or the second benefit of posting content on social media, is growth. And growth is usually determined either by follower count, so how many people follow your social media profile. It's also followed by the number of DMs you get on the social media platform that you're posting content on, as well as the sales you're able to complete via the DM on any social media platform you're on. And then the third thing is authority, because the more you continue creating content, the better people start to trust you, and therefore in the long run you will build a brand for yourself, which a lot of people are now calling it personal branding. Now, if you're a beginner, chances are the goal that you actually have for your social media platform is building an audience, or even growing your social media platform, or even just experimenting and seeing if this is something you actually want to do. So you really need to set the goal that is going to be very, very clear, and it's going to be specific, so that you can be able to measure whether the content you're creating is actually bringing in the results you want based on what you actually want to do on social media. In order for you to come up with a content strategy, you need to hit at least one of these three things, because you are either a business and you're trying to improve your marketing and sales, you're either just a person who's trying to build a personal brand. That means you're doing community building or audience building, which translates to building trust. Or the third thing you're trying to do is you're probably trying to get to promote something, or to get people to buy something that you're affiliated with, which usually leads to conversion. So you need to think about it in terms of what exactly do you want from this particular content that you're going to be posting, because essentially you will need to measure and see, is the content you're posting actually giving you the results that you want. Then the second step is you have to choose your content pillars. And I know we've all heard about the cliche way of finding content pillars, where you think about educational, aspirational, inspirational. No, I actually do not mean those. I actually mean you're supposed to make your content pillars to actually represent the kind of message you want to share with the content you're actually pushing out on social media. What I essentially mean is you are going to categorize your content in terms of, is it a think piece that you want to share with people? Is it a contrarian opinion that you want to share with people? Or is it a point of view you have? And then the other thing you could probably include in there is a process. How did you get from zero to hero in the specific thing you're actually sharing content on? Because essentially, people are not going to connect with educational, inspirational. No, they're going to connect with the message, and it's going to be highly dependent on what point of view you're having in their lens, because people are going to judge you based on what they know and based on what they assume that this thing you're sharing content on is with regards to their understanding. So you need to ensure that the message that you're putting out there is serving those particular content pillars. And I need you to take yourself as the use case scenario here. When you're watching people's content, what lens do you actually judge them from? Do you judge them from, oh, they're educating me? Or do you judge them from they're giving you a point of view that you never thought existed? Because that is what actually connects your audience to your content, even as a creator. Then step number 3 is you need to build out your content pillars or your content foundation, because essentially this is going to be the way that you are going to be delivering your message. Now, with content creation, of course, when you're thinking about content pillars, you have to think them in terms of delivery and not in terms of the topics, because you've already categorized the topics. So what this essentially means is that one idea can actually bring you 4 content ideas, or rather 4 content pieces. So that what that essentially means is you are using your content foundation or the strategy behind the content foundation you have or the content pillars you have so that you have a consistent flow of ideas. And I'm going to give you a good example. Say I'm doing a video on how to actually use ClickUp for project management, right? Or maybe I'm doing a ClickUp related video. The first video I could do is something like a walkthrough of how to use ClickUp. The second video I could do is a comparison video whereby I would do why I prefer ClickUp to something like Asana. The third video I could do could be something like my point of view, or rather my contrarian take in terms of automation, because I am really into automation. And then the fourth video that could come out of that ClickUp idea could be something like watch me as I build up my workflow, because essentially this is one content piece or one content idea, but the delivery method is 4 times, because maybe one is going to be a tutorial, another one is going to be a contrarian take, another one is going to be a comparison, etc. That is essentially what we mean when we are talking about setting up your content pillars, because you're going to revolve around this delivery method until your message cuts across to the audience that you're trying to grow or the audience you want to get on social media. Then step number 4 is you building up your content system. And I know a lot of us do not like systemizing or building processes around what we do because it's content creation, it's creativity, right? Wrong. You're supposed to actually set up a system because it's gonna help you stay accountable as well as stay consistent, especially if you want to be serious with content creation. And that is why I did a video talking about how to actually set up your content creation workflow. And if you haven't watched that video, because I know a whole lot of you who are watching this video may not have watched that video, I'm going to include it up here so that you guys can go and check it out after watching this video. But essentially, this content workflow is supposed to help you map out what is the work behind the scene work that is going to be needed in order for you to produce the content. It is going to help you stay accountable because you'll be able to see and visually track that the things that you're actually planning to do in content are actually happening. And then the third thing is to reduce friction, because if you already know what to do, it is very easy for you to do it compared to if you have to now sit down and plan again and do the entire process every single time. Then for step number 5 is you need to figure out how you're gonna turn your content strategy into a growth and a client leading kind of process, because essentially what you're trying to build is a redirection flow. Content on social media, honestly, if you don't tell people what to do, no one is gonna start imagining what they're supposed to do once they're done watching your content. The first thing you have to figure out is how are you going to build a repeatable call to action, because if something is repeated almost 7 times in terms of marketing or in terms of mentioning in your videos, then someone is more likely going to remember that they're supposed to take that particular course of action. But if you just say it once and then you hope for the best, then it's not gonna happen. And then the second thing, you also need to figure out what is going to be your content collection, because you need to figure out whether you're gonna be doing one-off videos whereby you just cover one thing at one video and that's it, or you're gonna turn the content ideas that you have into a series such that people can follow through. Because here is the most important thing about content, especially now. You need to know how you're gonna grab and keep people's attention, because you're not just competing for attention with big companies. Now you're also competing for attention with other people who are in the same field as you and they have more knowledge than you or more experience than you. So you need to figure out how can you convert what you're doing to make sure that even if you get 10% of 100,000 people, this 10% is going to go with you in terms of watching all your content all through. I'm gonna do a bonus point where I'm gonna show you some of the mistakes that you wanna avoid, especially if you're just beginning with your content strategy and content, strategically thinking about how your content is gonna be. And the first thing I would really highly encourage you avoid is falling into the trends trap. Yes, something is trending. Yes, something usually goes viral every single day on social media, but you need to stick to your plan. you need to ensure that you do not get swayed by the virality hack, because that's a fleeting moment, and whatever you're trying to build with your audience is trust. People trust people who are consistent. So you need to ensure that even if you're jumping on the trend wagon, it is a trend that is going to serve your long-term goal, which is building trust with your audience. And then the second mistake I need you guys to avoid is when you're coming up with your content piece, have a clear structure. Where is the hook? Where is the meat of the video? Where is the pre-hook? Where is the visual, the text? Where are they gonna be? How are you gonna be placing the graphics that you're gonna be using on your videos? You need to have a structure, because if you have a structure, it makes it easy to edit, it makes it easy to script, it makes it easy for you to even come up with new ideas, because you don't have to think about how you're gonna technically organize all your thoughts in that particular video. And then the third thing I need you guys to avoid is not having a timeline. When you're building a content strategy, you're building it for it to end. You're not building it for it to stick the entire way through, because algorithm shifts, guys. Platforms usually get so many changes within the year, and you need to ensure that you are changing with the changing times. So you need to ensure that if you're building a content strategy, maximum should last 6 months, and then after 6 months revisit your strategy again and build up a new content strategy. Because if you do not change, then you're gonna be stale as a content creator, and people are not really going to be giving you any attention. And then the fourth mistake is not having a feedback loop. And the best way for you to have a feedback loop is by building a community either on your newsletter or on WhatsApp, because it's easy to reach them, right? And they can be able to help you see what you're not seeing as a content creator. So you need to figure out where you're gonna build your feedback loop. It can be your close friends, it can also be content creators who are in the same field as you, or it could be your followers, your audience, where you've created a tightly knit secret community or private community for them to just give you feedback, for them to give you ideas, and for them to converse with you as a creator. But up to that point, I'm hoping that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, I'm really confused or conflicted about doing a fully dedicated video on whether I should do how to actually become a video content creator, or I should do a tutorial on how to edit videos. Now, I want to do both of these videos, but I would like you guys to choose which video you'd like to see from me next. So let me know in the comment section whether you want me to do a video tutorial on how to actually do videography, or you would want me to do an editing video where I talk about how to actually edit your videos. Let me know in the comment section. But up to that point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, remember to subscribe. If you feel like sticking around, I did do a video talking about how to become a content creator in 2026. If you haven't checked that video, I'm going to include it somewhere here, and I am going to see you in that particular video.